we could trace the sort of genesis of this back to 2001, 9/11, when George W. Bush declared the war on terror. And what that effectively did was create a war over abstract ideas. And in that war of ideas, the place where ideas are transmitted, in other words, the media, becomes a part of the battle space. And so what we saw since 9/11 was the way in which governments had securitized the flow of information and treated hostile journalism as a threat, not just as a threat to national security. And that's what happened to us in Egypt. The more I looked, the more I realized that this wasn't just a problem in authoritarian regimes, the usual suspects like Russia, Egypt, China, and so on, but also was happening in the United States, as we're seeing. The rhetoric, particularly now, from Donald Trump is to treat journalists as the enemy, to talk about journalists as being at war with the administration. Of course, the Washington Post famously retorted, "Mr. President, we're not at war, we're at work." But also, even in Australia, we're seeing the same problem, the spread of national security legislation to encroach on legitimate journalism.